Hi, Joe Simon from the Joe Simon Podcast. Today we're here talking a little bit about what's going on out there when it comes to having financial strategies, having the right questions asked of you so you can build a successful financial freedom runway for yourself. We've been talking and hearing a lot from people about this little thing I've been talking about called the 40 Questions Quiz. We'll get to that in just a few minutes, but first, the headlines. We'll hear more about our record setting $1 trillion debt sweepstakes that the country just won again in July of 2024. We'll talk more about Americans and savings, good or bad. Hold on. And lastly, some wage report from the Social Security's Department. But first, let's talk about Americans and saving money. The U.S. personal savings rate declined from 3.5% in May of 2024 to 3.4 in June of 24, the lowest since December of 2022. This comes after U.S. households have depleted over $2.3 trillion of excess savings since 21. At the same time, the credit card debt reached $1.6 trillion in July of this year, just $3 billion below the all-time record. Is savings now becoming a luxury? That's the question that only you would have the answer to today. This great information was provided by the Cobasi letter. Let's move quickly on to wages and what the Social Security Department is reporting. As of today, 68% of Americans make $61,220 per year or less. 50% of the wage earners made less than $40,847, and 90% of Americans earn less than $125,000 annually. Again, published by the Chief Actuary of the Social Security Department annually every October of every year. So that's kind of a level set to where we stand today and who makes what and really where we sit individually out there. Lastly, here's the sweepstakes question of the day. As of July 2024, the U.S. debt has now hit what? 20 trillion, 30 trillion, or 35 trillion. Well, I'm sad to say if you guessed 35 trillion, you win, but we all lose. 35 trillion in debt as a nation as of July 2024. If you look back just a few years, the amount of debt that we've accumulated is just staggering when you look at it from a historical perspective. What are some of the solutions when we talk about this? People always want to know, well, how do you just stop it? How do you stop this waterfall? One of the quick answers or quick questions that people have sometimes is, well, what happens if we just raise taxes on everyone who makes $100,000 or more? Let's raise those taxes to, well, I don't know, 50%. 50% on everybody who makes $100,000 or more. We would still have a shortfall when it comes to where the U.S. budgetary obligations are. We would have a shortfall of trillions of dollars. So the well's pretty shallow there for that being the answer. Well, the other part of that is 15% of Americans make more than $100,000. So again, it's a shallow well. Some of the other options that we've seen, the U.S. government could cut spending to an affordable budget. That's happened before, but for some reason it's always exceeded the budget as time goes on. It doesn't seem to be a real fix, a real solution because it doesn't stick. What about increasing taxes for everyone? Well, we talked about that before. I don't think that would work long term, and we know that. But what about printing more money? Now, that has also happened several times over our short history of the U.S. printing more money. And what happens? Does the value increase or decrease when there's more of it in the market? If you said decrease, you're absolutely right. So let's continue with that idea for a minute. If we have a decreasing, shrinking dollar with an excess amount of it into the marketplace, what happens? We see a decreasing of the value as well. And from a long-term perspective, that isn't good either, is it? So what I'd like to move on to quickly is, I guess that plays into that question, what can we do for ourselves? And that's why we're here to talk about this little e-copy today, the e-version of the 40 questions quiz. We're not going to go through all of them. I'm going to quickly read a few of them and just a taste of the power tool that you have available for yourself. Probably the most important and or the most popular question out there today is, when should I file for my Social Security? We know that we have 74 million baby boomers, people born between 1946 and 64 right now, so 74 million of those. We also know that there's 66 million Gen Xers, people born between 65 and 80. So really the answer to that question depends on your age and how soon you want to get at it. I can tell you that we as Americans love to get our hands on our money as quickly as possible, but my follow-up to that would be, but is that the best way to do it? You know the answers to that. There's a way to work that out. If you'd like to know more about that, check that out through the Social Security Department or reach out to us and we can get some information in your hands, a quick link as to how you can kind of do the math yourself for that. Here's question number 5 on this. Is there someone at a local nursing home or assisted living that you're so crazy about that you'd love to leave 2/3 of your estate value to them? Now, I know that's kind of tongue-in-cheek, but what it should force you to ask is, well, what does something like that, long-term care or assisted living, full-time, what does that really cost? Right now, in 2024, it's at around $100,000 a year and increasing at 7% annually. Definitely something we need to know as it plays into our personal situation and how we want to address that. Another question number 18. Have you ever heard of the 30 states that are now exercising their FALIL laws? FALIL laws. Aren't those laws that make children responsible for their parents' debts when their parents are gone? It absolutely is, and there's 30 states that have quietly stepped forward over the past several years and said, we're going to exercise this law. How does that play into your planning? The last question on the list of 40 today is question number 38. Do you know the difference between the marginal tax rates and the effective tax rates? Well, we live in a marginal tax rate scheduling system. Most people don't really understand what that magic number is for you and your house and you and your business. So these are questions that are built to challenge you and have you come up with your answers to them. Again, it's called the 40 Questions Quiz. There's an e-version of this that we can get to you, and you can use it to really work out what's best for your situation. And I hope it adds a little bit more light to having beneficial dollars for yourself.